Oh, la so. Any dachi number Tamalani. You can delay, Lopa delay, Nigon delay, any gomo delay, Staki delay, Tamala, and it is Shukin. I want to say everyone good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am very, very happy to be here today. That ring or to the la, any Yamita Borum Bochin say, Yajuke, any Lamchurin Chinchawat, any month to the that is in the Mashi again. We are here.
So we'll be continuing on with the incomparable Gampopa's composition, Precious Garland of the Supreme Path.
You draw, Saba.
You draw.
You draw, Shigadoa. I go somewhere. That comes. Antarjang. Any Pemasi Gao, Pemasi Chibo, Xiong, any Chirana Bea, Dina Yinsene, Namja Jun the Chuni, Silicaps, any Singa Gawata Goa, any all the Nangor is.
So I'm very, very happy to be here, and I would like to encourage you, as I always do, to cultivate great joy in our good fortune to be able to attend to these teachings.
Nature, you draw Chigados in the Karisegore, Beman Tomo.
You draw, forget it. Oh.
Forget, I kick up Karisa. Nature Pai, Mogoat, the Karisegore. How do we say
Not so we forget it. You show send forget it, right? You draw.
Don't judge you the you don't judge you kick.
Throw it out. Kick it out.
Kick up. I almost kick up today, the David Molk. Lasso anything. Any Tangi Tambutila.
Not love God. Then you send love God.
Any that ring the dissine Lama la Soatam, the dissine. Rembaging the Garang Tabalama, the Jibalama, the Soatabu Inchin and better than Nano cheese.
So now I'm going to make my prayers to the root and lineage gurus, and please do the same.
Jimbo to the Nimel to Zuni Molan Jimbo of Jada, Becatan Sindus and Meadow, Timbatu Jina Gusa, Nindo Jimbe, Pio Limandre, Lord Jimbe, Jugan, the Nise, the Bajimbe, Jimbe, Jian, the Lota Jimbe, Shalangusa, Nindo Jimbe, Kodazine, Akapi, Jimbe, Lamani, Baranze. Zundu Jimbe de Bejansin, Areba Jimbe Shala Sorwa, and the Bajimbe and Joyon Saja Jimbe Topang, the Tele Jimbe Kadanyam Barata, Ningom Jimbe Shala Soa, and the Dojin Jawari Gunjabda Lama Kanma by Jokra Gunje Jonesi, Pamjayatanam Jorma, Tele Gunjesi Powanja, Chujong Bejin Jamdala, Namjose Kube, the Don Rami to Jechonga, Jakunje Jin, Jidu Bagane, Dagarawa, Pumping Jidiwa, so the burger, Hasun Dovala Marangusa. But in our Lamarum Boche, that you were be made in Yola. Karten Jimbe Goni Jibsonde, Kosong Tujang, Zanda, Yode Sanje Gondanyam Naya, Karten Sanje Gomea Labango, Zavala Meshamla Sovande, Dasondo Valona Chus, Kanda Soji Dongenji Dina, Beji Loma Jabagan Sada, Timber Chujen Chambe, Nimbrand Batam Chenderche. Namaria Tambalaya Gidalata Nipjingi Idrum Dadame Ginamda Dua Gunje Taki Jitsamba Tamchi Kidu Dagi Chudi Ando.
O benevolent root guru, who is in essence all Buddhas of the past, present, and future, with great devotion I prostrate to you and go for refuge to you with my body, speech, and mind. Please grant your blessings to be cared for by you inseparably in this lifetime and all of my future lives. Clean ground of pure ethical discipline, beautified by mountains of unfathomable samadhi, illuminating all things with wisdom light of the sun and moon, Supreme Buddha who accomplishes the welfare of all, please bestow virtue and goodness. Your mandala expanding throughout space and knowledge of all things, beautiful thousand-fold light striking the lands of trainees, fully illuminating all of Buddha's teachings in their entirety. With devotion I prostrate to the great jewel of the Kagyu. O glorious and precious root guru, please take seat of lotus at my heart. Caring for me in your great kindness, please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind. Equal to all Buddhas in qualities of realization, yet surpassing all Buddhas in kindness to me, I pray at the feet of my root guru, O protector, please turn the minds of myself and all beings towards the Dharma. All you who have become disciples of the Sugatas, those gone to bliss, throughout the billions of worlds of the 10 directions, all of you who wish to hear the Dharma raining down here and now, may you come here. Namo, in languages of devas, nagas, and yakshas, languages of kumbhandas and human beings, in the sounds of whatever beings exist, in every language, I shall teach the Dharma. Please listen well with the motivation of bodhicitta, thinking all mother sentient beings equal to the extent of space must by all means attain unexcelled, eternal bliss of perfect, complete Buddhahood. To accomplish this, I shall listen carefully without distraction to these Mahayana teachings being given here and put them into practice.
Ola so Tadela Kanshi Simbar Sava Chujian, Tadrenga Chukapsa Papa, and Yami Tapunje, and Nilam Chori Chin Tuat, and man to the Ma, and the Sine, Shuayins.
So the teachings we will be continuing with are those of the Precious Garland of the Supreme Path by the great master Gampopa, Sonam Rinpoche.
Tadela, Ani, Chumuji Jang, Mundo Sab Sone, Ani Chumuji Chude, Gachimori de, Chumuji Chude, Yapo Yongdam Yong the Dowo de, and Mundo Chu, Sotu Gung Ju Dang Dang, Sotu Gung Ju Dang Lasso, but the digital rally.
So as it's said, even more profound than the main teaching is the preparatory practice. And that is very true because whether the main teaching goes well or not, is effective or potent or not, depends upon one's setting of the motivation at the preliminary stage, setting one's motivation and so forth.
And then do that Gung Seate, any Sanchup Simland or you get, and then the Zane, Gung Long Sanchup Single Chisimba, and then you go on.
So what we really want is for our motivation to be sustained by the intention of bodhicitta, seeking enlightenment for the sake of all living beings.
Yeah. Any Sanchup Sinsiate, Nan Tachi the Simchin Tamjik, don't chicken, Sambachik, any number Zozan Lebiba, number Simchila meaning all day, any Simchin Tamjik Zozan and Gonduko law. any number simchi, your simchi de la magne, any siles in under day, any Korang to George Allen Gundo, lost shook him, just think of apology at the any such of
So bodhicitta is a mind that's very intent on guiding all beings to enlightenment. And so the object of that mind is all sentient beings, all living creatures. And that which one is seeking to do is to set them into the state of full enlightenment. So having a very clear, powerful intention is the nature of bodhicitta, intention, motivation.
The need to Janet Tela, Tanga to some of Hanachi Tango do City Jane. Now, Tatanya Simchin Tamchi, round at the Devan de Bata, round at the Dongarman de Ba, Chibari. These Simchin de Nam, Devan Dunayang, David Jokain, but the Dramashi. Dongar Maduba Yinayang, and it don't have good July, Nimsi, two talk to Sunday Simchin de Nam. So
to cultivate this motivation, think how all living beings, all sentient beings, all limited, unenlightened, yet unenlightened beings throughout space have exactly the same wish to be free of suffering as I do, and the same wish to experience peace and happiness just as I do. And yet, even though they want happiness, they don't know how to create the causes for that happiness. And even though they want to be free of suffering, they don't know how to avoid creating the causes for suffering. So thinking of beings, all these boundless beings in this situation, thinking, how sad, how pitiful is this situation?
This is some not any tela. This some not samji. Churan this some not in Nupateke, Churanka Chukumujete, Tubasine andra, Churanka Gombasine andra, Sambasine andra, Lunga Gewa Kandiki Sewaina, the Mazel Hula. This some not Tendiki Tang Tawaina, Gewata Ranjing the Nubachimbochi, what a Nubachimbochi town of your.
So if you'll go through this kind of contemplation, setting of your motivation, whether you're going to be listening to teachings or thinking about them or meditating on them, that will make that practice of listening, contemplation, or meditation naturally very powerful. It will naturally make it very powerful.
Okay, good job, Samba.
Oh, touching.
That don't just train you to me.
Oh, touching.
Demo showing that Samba. Any good issue. Machi Tante Jimola Yalape Gawa you are sometime Jimola, the Pichibo, you Sambala this. Authenticity. The day to Tani, authentic some of tongue there. And it can be true what you see or study.
So thinking along these lines very carefully and intently, please, with that kind of motivation, listen to the teachings. Meditate on them.
Yami Tapu, the Belamchori Chintuake, Jonga Pate, Jonga Panandini, Mita me be Junisia, that day in my lang.
So we've reached the 15th session of our teachings on the Precious Garland of the Supreme Path, and which deals with 12 indispensable things. I'm going to read these off now.
Ambo, Jinchi Tiniji, but the Batimboshi Mitami, Tape Lamnandimbe, Lamashi Mitami, Jula Koalimbe Shirabji, Mitami, Kotata Nitobdimbe, Tundishi, Mitami, Lapsam the Tony Choba, Sabashi, Mitami, Shiv the Nelo Toba Tawashi, Mitami, Simika Yada neighbor, Gombashi, Mitami, Shikutamchi, Lamdechi, Jubashi, Mitami, Jingik Dota Kosapoma, Dangashi, Metami. Any Danga sick the Malipan Yamishi, Metami. Lusim Dravet Sena, Lobdi Dinkimboshi, Metami. Because around a lunge driven devishi Metamido. And then Metami, but Juni, you know.
These are the 12 indispensable things. From the beginning, faith arising from deep fear of birth and death is indispensable. A guru who leads one on the path of liberation is indispensable. Knowledge and understanding of the meaning is indispensable. Diligence, courageous and armor-like, is indispensable. Cultivation without complacency of the 3 trainings and the 2 accumulations is indispensable. A view that realizes the nature of all knowables is indispensable. Meditation in which the mind itself abides wherever it is placed is indispensable. Conduct in which one takes all one's actions on the path is indispensable. Practice of instructions without leaving them as mere words for transcending adverse conditions, obstructors, maras, and deviations are indispensable. Great confidence, a happy mind at the time of the separation of body and mind is indispensable. A result, the spontaneous manifestation within oneself of the 3 kayas is indispensable. Those are the 12 indispensable things.
Hola, Tadigi, Tadila, Rinpoche the Mashuaina, and it Lambo. Jinji Tingipe, the Bajimboshi Metamesia de la Tangarang to Sahak Chudang, Lapard, Sahat Doji to Pechut, and Regina Nisi Guaina, that they bought the Hajang, they bought the Hajazachimbochi Chadi.
Now, with regard to the first point from the beginning, faith arising from deep fear of birth and death is indispensable. Faith is something that's extremely important. Deep conviction, especially in the practice of the tantric teachings of Buddha.
Tade Kare Dinani, Jinchi Tingi Putepa Gosondo, Jinchi Tingi Putepa Goseatela, Jumsi Pechimboji.
So this reason for having deep faith and conviction because of a concern about death is an extremely important point.
Jetang Arangu Japson Rosikadoa, Japson Rosia de Japsia de Jamdok Jula, and in Jita Hoyuri. The Injicta take law take any jam the law de Yokuri, jam the law take jeans and any depart Yokuri. Ambon Jita the Mewaina, Ambon Jita Lochi Mewaina, Japson Rondo Jagamari. Jamdo the Masowaina, and it depart Legamari. They bought a Jamdo needed Nyam the Yonguri. Ang Japson Rosa de la Japson Roji Bacapsa, they bought the Mewaina, Jamdo the Cheddar de Machaki Mari. The need to done it Jamdo Tang, they panic, you meet the Mronwate, Karisini, Jitari. Jita Woma the Karisini, she shitting in your bus. Hang around to Jivala and Jiki Mari. Happy birthday, Citizane, Pechibola Zando, happy birthday, Sekdoa. That needs be the happy birthday in my left at it, Chivan in my left at it, any Gawa, Nawa, Chawa, this is the rebbe, the lem the Panjitaka of Lepuri. Dean Annie only in Jita Chishu the Chesa the Kareri Citizen in Chiwateri. Chiwak Ju the Kawani Yunguri Citizen, Chiwani Yunguri. Jumsi Telatine, Chiwa Songoya to Jumsi Deri. Mangtoe. These are Mangso.
Loss. Okay, so we speak about going for refuge, you know, and refuge has a sense of protection. We're seeking protection. And so in order to have that attitude of seeking protection, there needs to be a sense of something that we need protection from. Now, we normally don't think of birth, for instance, as something frightful. We think, oh, happy birthday. But when we really think about birth, birth leads to aging, and aging to sickness, and sickness leads to death. And among these, all of these, the death tends to be the most frightful to us if we consider what an unprepared death could really happen. And so this concern about death actually is a cause for refuge. If we don't have that concern, that fear of an uncontrolled death or an unprepared death, we won't be able to have refuge. If we don't have refuge, we don't have any faith. The faith and the refuge are coming together. So, and so, if we don't have faith, we don't have refuge. And so this is important to cultivate the causes of refuge in this way in order to have a fully qualified refuge. Otherwise, our refuge will not be truly qualified if we don't feel that there's something that we need protection from.
And yesterday I sent to you the email. Did you got it?
Awesome. I received it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rinpoche prepared some notes for today, and as is said in Sutra, the people who lack faith will not develop virtuous dharmas, just as a seed that has been burned will not give rise to a green sprout. So without faith, we won't be able to have any positive dharmas that we develop, because faith is like the foundation for that.
Any madopa, summadopa, deba number sumdoa. Deba sia de Troachine, Pena Lamanda Jinji, Lahanga Jinpong, Tendeshena, Tendria Bondo, Sambakasina Troa, Gawa, de la Tangdeba.
So there are different kinds of faith. There's clear faith, there's aspirational faith, there's irreversible faith. Clear faith is like when we come into the presence of, or we think of the Lama, or coming into the temple, and we feel sense of awe and admiration. This is clear faith.
Tarwasiate Matawaina, Tun Namyang, and it don't have my Tarwasiate Kaditomna, Tawalan Dupelo Shimbo, Shukimbo Giadelani, Dupeteba. Any Madop Debasia,
Aspirational faith is a wish for liberation, a strong wish for liberation, thinking, if I don't attain liberation, there's just going to be unending problems and suffering. I must attain liberation. This sense of a strong aspiration is aspirational faith.
Any Madop Debasiate, Ambitula Tsunduse, Nyamnishene, Della Kanga Kandiki Suma Inayang, Nete Namyang, any Samyagami. Or Tuba the Samba the Gomba Tambichu, the Nanya Kanga Kandijin Tenayang, Netin Samyakami Samba, Jatimboji, Tambichu Yayatela, any Madop Debasiki.
And the irreversible faith is the feeling that no matter what kinds of obstacles, difficulties I encounter in my study and contemplation and practice and meditation on the teachings, I will never give it up. Strong determination of this nature is that irreversible faith.
That's all. And in Nibadeke, Tapul Lamsan Dimbe, Lamashimi Tamis. That Tapul Lamsan Dimbe.
Secondly, it's a guru who leads one on the path of liberation is indispensable.
Ani Kangla Kongda Deba the Shigado, Kongda Deba the Shen, the Kangla Deba Yaksati Yashi the Karedisina, Tapul Lamsan Din Kinteri. Sanjeri, Churi, Genduri. Maranto number Chinani, Sanje Chuda Gendu. Net and the Tara de Batnam Japsi de Sonyuri. Majestama Dodi Tibakausa, Lama, any Sanje Chugendun, Sitamo, Namo Grube, Stamoni, Namo Bedaya, Namo Damaya, Namo Sangai City, Yoga Yuditsani, any Selhabjatsawa Lama, Tapalam Nanding, the Lama in the Zani, any Gangla de Bachisake, Tambo take de Bachis, one Niba take, Gangla de Bachisate, the Lama. All the Sanitati Petachimbo is Yuri.
So with faith being so important, then in what do we generate faith? And whom do we generate faith? And that which leads us on the path to liberation is that which we generate faith in. Now, in general, it's said that Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are the refuge for those who seek liberation. And in the context of the tantric path, then we put the guru in the first place of taking refuge in the guru, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And thus, the most profound place for us to put our faith is in that guru who leads us on the path of liberation.
That's all. I think the journey, Dinani Tapul Lamnan Din, so Mambo check Tapul Lamnan Din, said the journey, Naran Shatsali Gister, any Lama de Pardo Tang, any Poa Tang, the Nikaran check the Tapani Lai Lamnan Din of Urisi. Mambo check de la Saman Koku Urisi. Then Maris, Dinani Tapul Lamnan Din, say Lutin de Tony, Laman doing it to Basse, La Maison Yality Churanke Sambase, La Maison Yality Churanka Gombasene. Check up Pardol and Roma, go to Tony, de Tony, La Maison Dama and Orte, and Churanka Yanisene. Purple Lamnan Dins, Lam Yashute, Lutin de Tony Chadi.
Now, these words in Tibetan, Tarpe Lam Jain, leading one on the path of liberation, is often thought in the Tibetan language to refer to the Lama guiding one through the death process, through the intermediate state or the bardo, and on through the through transference of one's consciousness at the time of death. But although that is a connotation that springs to mind, that is not the main meaning of this leading one on the path of liberation. It means in this life that our reliance on the guru for teaching and then for contemplation and meditation in this very lifetime to be led on the path to liberation by the guru. This is the primary meaning here, not waiting till the time of death in the intermediate state.
The Lutin de Tola Lame Tapul Lamnan Din, Somala Pima Toaina. Chekaka Gabso, Kalekabo Chacha Tayuris. Cheka Gabso, Masi in its Kenanga Chimbo, and it is Tonton. And it Pardu Gabso, the Len Jinan Chimbo, Shinan Chimbo. And it is John Sali Gabso, Lame Tapul Lamnan Din, Kalekabo Chadiris. Lame Tapal Lamnan Din Saka Lomate, Yashi the Karedis in the Tata Gabs. Lama symbol Yoderi Gabs, Laman doing it to Basse. La Maison Yality, Social Samostan, and it Gombasi, Yamin Sene. Remember that the Ditches Waina, and in Namjik, Lamanda, what you Marshal Huna. All the Ditches Waina, and it Tapalam not the Gabs Tangi Urista.
So if we don't carefully attend to relying upon the Guru during our lifetime, it will be very difficult to have benefit from the Guru guiding us at the time of death, because the time of death, there's a lot of anxiety and tends to be, suffering, and it's a very short duration. It's a short period of time. And then the intermediate state, the bardo, is a time that can be even more frantic and full of terrifying things and difficult. So much better than that is to rely upon the Guru while the Guru is alive. Receive teachings from them, contemplate those teachings, meditate on them. And then by doing that very industriously, then at the time of death, one will be prepared, and that will be able to rely on the Guru at the time of death much more effectively.
That's all. Any that did Lundin the natural text down in Banjoswa.
Lotus.
That's my text this morning or last night. Maybe I will send to you from the Harji, your element liberation. The Papa Jedong Bake, the Chikanana, Shinitiba, gave Shinitiba, chapter 3. Dinani, Kareston to Citizen, and Papa Jedong Bale. Dedara Sanju Samba Samba Jimbo, Lana Meba, Yanta, Zoba Sanji, Umber Zoba, Sanjavan Debe, Tambo need, gave Shinitala, Nimbarasa, Timbarasa, Nikovar Sao. Gave Shiniting Guberipa. Tamjin Chiba Toban de Bakanza to Chujin, Chuji gave Shiniting Gubartam Ja. Rani to Soso by the Debajom Mishibes, Shibetin Sexo. Timber Pe Sumji, Sanji Yino, Dopape, Rang Sanji Yino, De Donshena. Dakia, Zopa Sanji Tobarasibala, Sonam the Ishiji de Sotam so wishing. They so but top give Shinila Rale, Setan, Numobata, Shivje de Batam, Pong Gula. They pong tap give Shinila Rale, Seros. What about the Maju?
As said in the 8,000 stanza Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, from the beginning, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva who wishes to achieve the unsurpassable, complete, perfect enlightenment should meet, attend, and pay respect to spiritual masters. And in the jewel ornament of liberation, following logic, one who wishes to achieve the omniscient state should attend a spiritual master because of not knowing how to accumulate merit or how to purify obscurations. The positive illustration of this is the Buddha of the 3 times. On the other side are solitary realizers. To explain it, in order to achieve the complete perfect Buddhahood, all the accumulations, including merit and primordial wisdom, must be gathered. The means to do that depends on the spiritual master. All the obscurations, including the afflicting emotions and the subtle obscurations to enlightenment, must be purified. The methods to abandon these obscurations also depend on the spiritual master.
That's all. Any take a Tanga to Slaporter Angage Jubanda de Kaju Pachadi, Kajubake, Dorjin Chang is on the Dorjin Chang Telo Naro Mapamela Gampopa, Gampopa is on the any Kamapatambo to some Chimpan is on the invasion the Lome Lamala Sanji Ukete Bashe. Lame Loma de la, and it Dama, Loma lay Junjul me pata, Lega Jinkayo me pat, and Richie Tony, Lome Lama la Sanji Unkusovata, Lame Loma de Korangeta Karasekon, Sokana, the riches in the Teve Chang, the listen the Juba Sone, any Lama Rangla de Passe, Lama Rangla Yichi the Mugu, Lama the Lama la Sanji Untung Muguta deba. The long Kona Latine, Sang Jesota. Mamboji yuri, tate in the Tanite, Mazuka Pake, that Chichu Yunaminate, Kamakaju, Chichu Yunaminate, and it Lamala Sanjung and Tongo Musia, Tate Chavi.
Now, in particular, in my Karma Kagyu tradition, which comes from the Tantric Buddha Vajradhara to Mahasiddha Tilopa to Naropa to Marpa to Milarepa to Gampopa, and then from him on to the first Karmapa, Dusum Kyampa. This lineage is one in which there's great emphasis on seeing the Guru as Buddha themselves, and relying upon the Guru, even if it is at the cost of one's life. So great devotion to the Guru, seeing the Guru as Buddha, and it being primarily through that kind of conviction, of faith, of seeing that the Guru is actually Buddha, that the disciples attain awakening, attain enlightenment through the faith and conviction that the Guru is Buddha, and then through a sense of tremendous gratitude and devotion to them for their guidance.
Yeah, correct. And it's about the Jula Koalim Shirab Jimitamis. That they Jula Koalim Shirab. That the tongue what you Shirab say at the Samsung Shirab, Tuzong Shirab say at the Tambo Tuzong Shirab, Laman Pechala so but and it's also some notion. Shirab Yongsak Konda de Tuba, Samba, any Gomba. 트랍 야슈트 가래리 시르잖아요. 곰동기 시랍세야 돼. 곰세드잖아요. 냠내가 토네. 책자 많이 받던 차상 나오네 학고네. 냠내가 토네. 또 직성의 지엔데 지리 통화이나 바깥 대두게 아니 시랍대. 아니 곰성거 토네. 저 시랍인데 아니 시랍이 야슈트 하대요. 아 시랍이 용사다데 투바다 삼바다 곰바 대상 곰성 그 시랍. Lots of but the mambo yorwa. The Kangta Chang Churangla, the Nijike Hakoyake, then Oyake Chede, Shongna, Gomsong Shirap, Demina Tuzong Shirap, Karonki Mina, the Giomari Sobarita.
Thirdly, insight, which comes to real understanding, is indispensable. So there's different kinds of wisdom or insight, those that arise from study, from listening to the teachings, from contemplating them, and from meditation. And the greatest of these is the wisdom that arises from meditation, true insight that an understanding that arises from that. But the way that is developed is through studies, through listening to the teachings and thinking about them, and then meditating on them. So at best, insight derived from meditation that truly understands the teachings. And otherwise, if barring that, if we haven't developed that, then the wisdom that arises from contemplating the teachings and from listening to them. It's indispensable to have an understanding that arises from the insight developed in this way.
So, Gochada Nindop de Betundishim Tami. That is Dundu Goshik. That's Dundu de la, any Gocha Dundu down, any Gocha Dundu down, and Dina Nindop Sondoa. Gochada Nindop need to give the Jaguri. Any Robert Zundus. That's a tangle, Dundu Kain, but de la Chatang de la. In the Zunduke, a Kalesigo on that the draw and Roku. Dungang Gila draw you so draw up, must otang netane, Tange, Churchuba Shigin, Rangi Shigin, Samba Chicken, and it's called Mune, any damjata simshoka tony, any D simdela, get simdela, any toy simdelici. Not in the Kawazambo, not in the Yabo, name as in the Susi, near Ranking Sambake, or the Digic Security.
Then diligence, courageous and armor-like, is indispensable. So diligence is the next point, or perseverance, or what we really could call joyful effort or enthusiasm, because the real nature of perseverance is a rejoicing in positive things, rejoicing in virtue. And so here we're talking about an enthusiasm that is protected by armor, which thinks, I'm just so happy to be able to do these things, to practice these things, to study, to meditate, and so on. That I must definitely do this. You know, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And so having this kind of inner strength and courage, sustaining one's enthusiasm, one's joyful enthusiasm for practice is what perseverance is all about.
Abena, sometimes the sound the Yogodoa, Lamake, Tapa, Rachel, she the Goyachi, Lame, Lomala, Cheese, Majin and the Marias. Tapa, Rachel, Lame, Kurmasi, and Chishi the Goacha, Tawaina, Kansa take Jula, Salango Topa, and Yamtoya with Jigamari. Jimsi Kainsina, Korang Sindu Yumarwa. Korang Karasaka laziness. Lelo ta naming tende chikatola. Ani tende sin the tapa regular lame ote majin and the mare chi chisukur mase devaina til loma de la loma chedin machason. Lame tima chikla.
It's important that this enthusiasm arise from within oneself. You know, if one is always relying upon the guru to say, oh, do this, you have to do this, you don't do this, you know, it won't work, because then you'll just be subject to laziness, you know, because you won't be feeling that from within yourself. So the enthusiasm, this perseverance needs to be something that really arises from within yourself, out of this joy in pursuing it.
Loto. Any ngabade, love some the Tony chopper. Tony choba me, but Sabashi metamis. And dinane. Laba sum se the cho ni se do de nemandishi.
The next point that's indispensable is to be insatiable and never complacent in one's cultivation of the 3 trainings and gathering of the 2 accumulations.
Now I'm going to explain 3 trainings. 3 trainings. 2
accumulations.
Oh, thank you, Samala. Now you have become my English teacher. Oh yeah.
I wish.
Okay. Love sum dance. Love sum see the lava sum city. Any lava tutum lava. Lava dingin lava. Lava shirab lava rumbochi number sums. That they bet chimbo. Romji the hakoya de Kachake chimboreja. Lava tutum lava. Lava dingin lava. Lava shirab lava. This something meta me back. Northern Tangarang Solar. They go you race.
So first of all, these 3 trainings are like precious jewels for us, extremely important. It's the training in ethical discipline, the training in concentration or samadhi, meditative absorption, and then the training in wisdom insight.
Lava Tsutumja Lava de, Kandre Chaka Yurisidane, Lava Tsutumja Lava de, Lava Tingin Lava can batting the Jilla. Lava Tingin Lava de, Lava Shirab Lava de young batting the Koran. Still mean the Jim Yoma that Chadi. Then I'm a page Yana, the Bambote Sona.
So ethical discipline is really the basis for the second training in concentration. And then that training in concentration is then the basis for the training in wisdom. So each one serves as the basis for the next. Without the previous one, the next one is not really possible.
Pena ngag jula lapsum de jiwayina tahachik lama chik jula gelong chik jula lapsum jiwayina laba tsudum je laba de ni ju ge so la so ba pena tsudum ge mentung ge so ge ba za la so ba dang tsudum ge tun so la so ba de za pena ngag jula bomba yuri de domba de yong su so ba la ti ne any sem la tin shi je ba yu she de yogo yuri de du zane de la ba tsudum je la ba si de mewa yina 가사 치기 줄라 스편 메와이나 등인지데 템보 용거 요 말이 등인지데 템보 마용와 이나 디 또방 엄마들 상동 거 또바 등인지데 신에세 아니 시랍들 상동의 시디잖아 상동 거 또바 시랍데 지게 요 말이 근데 인도 자네 당보 많이 진다더라 줄라 파나야 미게 좁은 거 좀 어디 있는 거 말이 대신에 약보 요 말이 삼바치게 근데 지금 방사 가능 지금 바이오다電子 딘세게 이견라고 지금 매와이나 any same the less wrong 요 말이 약고 장거 요 말이
So for instance, in the case of a lama or a monk, with the vows of ordination, the ethical discipline of abandoning that which is proscribed, which is for which there's vows against, to avoid those things and to accomplish the things that are advised in terms of ethical discipline. If a monk doesn't do that, they won't be able to develop concentration, which is exemplified by shamatha, developing a calm, abiding, or quiescent state of mind. And without that, they won't be able to develop the insight, wisdom insight into the nature of reality, this combination of shamatha and vipassana, the calm, abiding, and insight. None of this will be possible. So there needs to be that foundation of ethical discipline, at least thinking about the 10 non-virtues, having the intention to abandon, to give up, to eliminate one's own commitment of the 10 non-virtues. Because without that, there's really no possibility of developing one's mind and meditation, for one's mind to become serviceable for meditation.
that's all Totally say 아니 사키수난 그 초당 남이 이게 초지 니가 기억이 사키수난 그 초라 띠네 나랑 초라 유라 아니 누큐건도 밖에 누군도 제게 진짜가 요리 아니 삼이 이시게 초라 띠네 나랑 주 주네 아니 추주건도 제 가독 상지가 와이나 추고다 zukun이 그 공판이네 아니 상지가 요리 어떤데 인도 자네 사기 수난 그 차대 간이 용거 요리 시도다네 르당 나니 또 토네 사기 수난 그 초. 용거 요리 삼미 이시의 초의 조대 생고 토네 용거 요리 대양 돈이 그 따와서 산주 그 심리 몇번몇배 내가 돈이 그 토네 냠자시는 용거 요리
Now, as for the two accumulations, there's the accumulation of merit and the accumulation of wisdom. And so the accumulation of merit is what enables us to attain the form body of a Buddha. And the accumulation of wisdom is that which enables us to attain the mental body, the Dharma Kaya, truth body of a Buddha. The way that the accumulation of merit is primarily accumulated, gathered, is through one's practices, physical practices and verbal, vocal practices. Whereas the accumulation of wisdom is primarily gathered through the mind, Yeshigi talk, Sam gi talk ne, sa gogorwa. Nicola Garsombe.
다 강다장 미미 이시지 초대 생그 토니 아니 이 사치 토대 루아이서 루당아 이거 토니 이거 요리시 다도티 다데니 어야 담보데시라.
And then so the accumulation of wisdom is primarily through the mind, and particularly into the insight into selflessness, insight into emptiness, that which the unobservable emptiness. So this is how the form body and the mental body. If we're going to attain enlightenment, we need to attain it on the physical level and the mental level. So these two accumulations of merit and wisdom are what are the causes of that.
Yeah. 아니 주바데게 십지 내lok도 따와시 미타미시 다 십지 내lok도 따와시 다 따와시야 데 강드니 마라 가레송도 지르잖니 시랍 니나니 따와다 지관다 지리 십지 내lok도 따와 십지 내lok도 따와데 곰성고 또바 줄레 찌네 다미 또 따와 줄레 찌야데 따와 남다 차가요 데르송고요.
So the next point of view that realizes the nature of all knowables is indispensable. So this is again relating to that accumulation of wisdom to develop an insight into actual nature of all that exists.
Yeah, 다들 그 덤바데 심리 가야데 네버 공바심이 탐미지. 다 심리 가야데 네버 송거리. 다제 땅가랑 주 시내 검리 값에 시내시나 검치리 값에 아니 세나 왕도 저투니 그거 송여리. 요즘 말아래밖에 그랑 다다 생그 추랑 파왕도 저놓고 요라. 심 정부 가서 왕도 튀기요 마다 생님버 왕도 놓고 요리. 이제 다니 진복해 nga 생비 지선당 생코랑 니몽 지선당 송수고요. 대인들 전에 맞아 참아 령아 이좀 따당가랑도 참아 가리 욕고 차거지나 뉴몽부 셈데 그 욕고치 있는 로데. 다들 베시도 공자는데 신의 공자한테 뉴몽부 셈데 개버셈 담아지라 야티인데 디 셈데게 아니 디 셈데 나랑 그 파왕도 저좀 긴지 생 코랑 그 세왕도 저르도 전에 new member center gave send a wang the jondo ya teke any simni karyatas simni kawala jana ya detmi kawala tangna ya rotumki kare shena shi tumki che o de gori songori.
Then meditation in which the mind itself abides wherever it is placed is indispensable. So as Milarepa explained, we need to get control of our mind. Normally what happens is that our mind controls us, and mind is controlled by delusions. So we are controlled by the delusions. We're like servants to ignorance and attachment and aversion that's in our mind. So we need to turn the tables on our mind and take control of our own mind. So this is what this meditation what this is about. That we're develop the ability to set our mind on whatever we wish, and to do with our mind, whatever we wish to do, to put it wherever, to send it wherever we wish. In this way, have control of our own mind rather than being subject to our own mind's whims and delusions.
I sent you email for this. Something similar one you Jarboti, Yana Yomi Rio Wamboji, Dana give me back on and you listen less or with the chindi. The other chin, Namjo Wambona, Naim Danjum, Ding Jun the thing. Namjung age and Yamni did as you do to the Tiki Jangsa or the beginning.
So as Tsongkhapa said in his condensed Lam Rim, a concentrated mind is a powerful king. When set, it is like the king of mountains, unmoving. When sent, it can engage all virtuous objects and induce blissful serviceability of body and mind. Knowing this, the lords of yogis and yoginis destroy the enemy, distraction, and always rely on meditative absorption. I, a yogin, have practiced like that. You who seek liberation, please do likewise.
All that's Any secure Tomchi, Lam the Chiv Juba Himitamis. And Dinani Tawatang, Gombatang, Juba, Tubateke, Tawashi. Any Dimbadeke, Gombashi. Any Jiva de Juba, Tagom Chusum, could Tinduke Letty Deti Regan on the Tagom Chusum, the Yelam Desum Chatang, Tang de Wandachi. Tadadi.
So in the sixth and seventh and eighth point here, we have these three of view, meditation, and action. So it's a very complete kind of covering of these topics. This next one, it says, conduct in which one takes all one's actions on the path is indispensable.
Tadeki Jiba de Sipju Tamchi Lamda Chivi Juba Himide. Cuba de Candace in the Lamda Chigo Yuri Siditane, Cuba de Tawe Lamda Chigo Tamu Yuri. Nawa de Katin Tompo Sonaya, Cuba de any Dina Yinsene, Lava Sola Andro to be Jessene. Ajiki Yang Tawan Tondo Kawashi, Cuba the Tawan in a Mansong Shene. Bena. Beji Jawa in all, not of one tumboy. Nain Chang Tong and Digiri, Nay Kajo Manjo, make it, don't make it Sutum Lasoba. Get home with Domba Lasoba, Jedon Lasoba, and Gan and Digiri, Jumsin Kains and Natawan Tompo in Sina. That's Hanji Jumdin de Song Yurin, Gurumbotic Song Yuri. Tawan Nankalin Tonayan, lay Jumdi Chupate, yet some sugaries. Jumsin Kains in a Chura Tawa Katen Tona, Tawa Degi. Since you can you mount some to take a candle, you take a bundle. Bundle is the tower in Numong Nimbo Chaki Yuri, tower to Numong Nimbo Chaki Yuri. And it's your uncle Juba Marate, Numong Chachu, Numong Lopa, Numong to Suanga Yongo Yoroa. The Indian designing out our tombo in Juba Kanyo Manjo Sena, and it top you need to chant to you, Mari. What in the song?
So view, meditation, and conduct are very much integrated. One's conduct must be informed by one's view. And the view is at root that which is opposed to the delusions, that which is the antidote to ignorance and attachment and aversion. And so that should naturally lead to our conduct being very pure and free from ignorance, attachment, and aversion. Otherwise, sometimes people tend to think, oh, my view is so high, I can just do anything. I can drink alcohol, I can do whatever. But that's completely disjointed. It's not a connection of one's view and conduct, as Buddha and as Guru Padmasambhava said. Even if your view is vast as space, your conduct should be minutely conscientious, even very attentive to even the slightest details of how one acts in the world, because that is the true integration of the view, meditation, and action, not where one's actions are completely separate from what one's supposed high view is.
Cuba the legend de la Mangawachi Goyate, Pekachimbo. Counter legend de la Garsoni Cubachi Yubaina, Tawa Katen Tombo is she and young, Tate Pemasi, that Zapchin, the Legate, Pet Zapchin, and Itakari Security, Nambu Chula Tawan in the Tawa Koran Tambo Manjil and Garchawachi Chata.
So, if as a result of whatever view and contemplation one has cultivated, one's actions, do not accord with the natural law of cause and effect, and is not conscientious about that, then it's completely mistaken. It's like the whole foundation of any kinds of meditation and realization is not there. So it goes quite contrary to Buddha's teachings.
Any Gubadeke, Jingik do the Kosapom Dangaji Mitamis. And Dinani Chitangoni Danga Seate, Uni Karitan Bronco Yurisitani, Numuba Nimbola Dangat and Bronco. Dinani Chinta Cake Seate, Numon Topsam Tang, and it lakpa the Tambu Chudubalang, Hachi, Parchela, Soba, Swaina, that they take the cake tissue. The gene chechuji, they do chechu the day in Sonya. And then and the party meet in a gene cake do say in the Zane, slowly chick, Ganga tang, Nuba tang, do the party lasso, but the Niji in a sanguide, the lions don't choke it, do chechu de, Zopa Sanji Drubala, Barda Junki, Tawa the Tamjin Chimbala, Barda Junki, Tambe Chu Drubala, Barda Junki, that the do chechu. Now
the next point, which is actually combined with the next one in the translation, but we'll keep them separate here, is that it's indispensable to have instructions by which to eliminate negative conditions, obstacles, maras, and mistaken paths. Now, oral instructions that abandon these things, give up these things, or eliminate these things, could be interpreted and tends to look like it here, speaking of outer kinds of obstacles, to have instructions by which you could eliminate different kinds of external obstructions, but primarily what this really refers to is internal instructions, because the real negative condition, obstacles, the most serious mara are the delusions in our mind. And this is what really prevents us from practicing the Dharma. So we need to have instructions by which we can eliminate all inner and outer obstacles to our practice, and primarily those inner ones that obstruct us from having realizations of the Dharma.
That's all. Any Jubadeke, Danga, sick the Malipe, Yamishi Metami.
The next one, that it's indispensable to practice without leaving those instructions as mere words.
I think Danga Siditani Yang Kashikichi Danga Goakatola. Danga Sidi or Lamit in the Song Siang, Go Song, Hako Song Siang Dachik. Danga the Goakatola Pachas water. Kashi Danga Sigatola Chane. Sing Nimbo to the Shino, the Sungri, and the Risia, the Sing Nimbo Catola, Sigatola Shia. And something the Mambo Doa, cut the os in the Mambo, she there. Tindi in the Zani, Dangwa sick the Malipe. Dangwa six lawata, Dangwa koala la. Dangwa the picture to the Layatang, Dangwa Susu koala la. Dangwa sick the land, the Tisum the last one ina, and in Yamni Chita Dimbachu Machawa in the Zani, Dangwa sick down, Dangwa koatang, Dangwa pechak to the Mahawa Chene. Dangwa de thinking Yamni the Tola. Thinking Yamni the Ni Jang, Nimsi two doctor. Lame Dangwa ji Nang Yua in the Nimsi two doctor. Think Muni can Yamni the Tolan Rotraji. Get somebody.
So it's important to practice these instructions without leaving them as mere words. Leaving them as mere words would mean thinking like, oh yeah, I heard the Lama say that, I understand it. Or being able to recite it off, saying very beautifully, say, oh, the teachings say this and this and this, or just writing it in notes or leaving it in books and setting it on the shelf and just leaving it there. This is not the point. The point is to actually apply those, to actually incorporate those in one's mind, in one's life, throughout the day and night, and not to leave it as just a mere words in any of these ways.
Tambo de Koran Dangwa de Sigla Pop. Any some no tang koala lip. Sigla Pop you the Tambo she. Any Niba de koala lip. No, Tendri Yas on the Samatana, Yabojidua, Tambo Sigla Pop Niba koala lip. Tama de Dangwa de any Yamling Tola Choyoachi. Oh, the Digigo Sarita.
So the instructions come first in the form of words. That's the listening and the studying. And then next is the contemplation, where we think about it and we get some understanding of it ourselves. We think, oh, that's what, and so we internalize it. And then with that, the point is then to actually put it into practice, to really apply it in our own mind and our own life.
That's all. And then you get the listen Ravitsina, love the Denkimboshi, Mitami.
Next, a great confidence, a happy mind at the time of the separation of body and mind is indispensable.
Angaranzu may lutin the lungs had the Angaranzu Shesa Chishute, what to mother Kala Shaka Yuri, my listen Tani Shendogri, somebody. My shikari, somebody. A mambochi tell a share that you.
So one of the most concerning things about our lives is that time when our body and mind will separate and will experience death. And for many people, this is something that's very frightening.
Tela, Matsu, Tambuchu, Yamni, Abuji, Sene, Kondu Sheba Nanji, Tutan Gomsam Lasso, but Yamni Abuji say the Vaina, Tata Chini, Yamni Abuji say the Vaina. Dindi, Jacha Jatampachuran, like Shua, the Lively Cups. The bear must seem a pinto chiboji. Lakbart, Suganani, Nimbote, Matapa. Mambochi Gomja city anything song, young man Shine, young man at Lam Tong, young man at Lata Golaso, but the Dichi Gom to the Chicadoa. They my imbachine, Mata Pandachilla, Nimar Redela, Shoka, Ningon Konda, the Parashilla Mata, Sola Samot on the Gonja de Vaina. Ya Chaja Tambachuranka Sena, Pepin Hochimbochita. All the Chades.
So if we practice the study, contemplation, and meditation on the teachings, now, from now on, throughout our life, this will have a tremendously beneficial effect on our time of death. And particularly if we focus on that very principal point among the teachings of impermanence. If we, day by day, throughout the day, remember impermanence, the momentariness, the transitoriness of everything, and how that death is definitely coming at some point. If we put our mind into that. We just really contemplate that nature of things. This will have a tremendously good effect on the time of our passing away from this life.
Yeah. When Chikatela Lord the Denchimbochi do, Lord the Oak Denchimbochi goes on, Tatela Kareli Sitane Namdio Parap, Nyani Cheta Dimbat, and the Cheni Capse, Chewa Chuku Lamchesine, Chewan Mainte, Namdio Sanchon Jebais, Sang Chunchon, Sang Jesia, Menta, Chewa Caps. Ainsina, Chewa Chuku Lamchesin, the Cap de Sanjero. Antambote, Yamipa Antambote. Niba de que Chiwang Oshine, Si Tula, Naranke, to San Gomsum Dang, Lakpat the Yadam Tatangasuna, that's Hanji Obama Yami Nankayuri, Amitaba. And this in Yami see the Likapse, and it depart and Mugut and this is Divina, Pardo Caps, also Hanji Obama, Pemne, and it Devachin Khan, Usan Rotoya. But you don't have it on the Usan Salvation and Rotova. You walk it today. Mama take in a young answer, and Chua let me go. How did she hang him but Jim watching? Oh, dang, I chicken to I share my easy. I hear she and the girls back in Jordan. Mataman in Holland, Matama, Dracula in the Yogodoa. Then this is my village. Lulu in a pa. Oh, I should to the Ramding Tassum to the Jidoa, then this is some of the capacity.
So here we have that mention of having a greatly confident mind of happiness or great blissful mind at the time of death. So in the best case, in the for a practitioner of the highest capacity, death is taken on the path as the Dharmakaya. Rather than there being an ordinary death, the person attains full enlightenment. In fact, it's said that death becomes attainment of enlightenment. So the experience of death is transformed into a realization of a Buddha mind, and one attains enlightenment at that very moment, great bliss. Now, at the second best level is with the practice that we've done with the meditational deity, prayers we've said, for instance, in the practice of Buddha Amitabha. At the time of death, Buddha Amitabha would actually appear to us, and holy beings would then enable us to go to Pure Land, such as Sukhavati, and there complete our spiritual practice. So this is the second best kind of outcome at the time of death. And third, at least, with the sincere practice of Dharma, that at that time of death, we won't have great fear and regrets. Without that, sometimes people have tremendous fear of death and scream and frighten everyone around about what the experience that they're going through. So rather than that, with intensive practice of Dharma, at least we can be peaceful and accepting at the time of death and pass away like that.
That's all. Juni Bade, any Kusum Rang La Lungi Triple, never you meet Hamis.
Next, a result, the spontaneous manifestation within one of the Trikaya is indispensable.
That they can achieve that Kusum Sia, the Chetang, that they see and Hacham Mambosia, Kusum Sia de Langachi. You la, Tamar Baji, Kusum Lamchir, Kandasinia, Michigo, you meet the Hacham Mambosia, the Tange, Dordushi, the Dinani, Yi Kusum, Lamji Kusum. David Kusum Siata. That is called Yalam Deson, like Yaktan Haja Mambo, you return it, you say. And it's Lakpardong around that a single Yi Kusum Dela, Moton Bachuka, Ranjis our longer, Tuji Jiang Chawa, the Trukos. 생어 동바 완시사와 투지지양 차와 토와 어디서는 아니 것은 신의 내시하게.
So to talk about the three kayas, the three bodies of Buddha, can be an extremely vast subject in terms of taking the three bodies on the path.
이 것은
But then explanations in the context of the basis of the path and the fruit of the three bodies of the basis, the three bodies of the path, and the three bodies of the resultant fruition.
아니
But without going into that all that detail, just to speak of it in a very simple way in terms of what is present within us now, that empty nature, that the Dharmakaya or the mental body is that as emptiness of the entity of our mind. The Sambhogakaya or the complete enjoyment body is that clarity or that luminosity of our mind. And the emanation body or the Nirmanakaya is that compassionate activity of our mind. Yes.
loso sambata tisco ada churality yo ne tiji tarjin de yue chile yue
The Nintam Gidrawa Dirabe.
Nidam dwa mari te tarjin and the yogi tarjin
Lolos. Na ye yin such a chego.
se ju tesi jego ya se ju tesi jego na kalma katen ko sare judu sum ko sare
Tandabada Ramasan.
ada padu rama
Sure, that's sure on.
ni shu tsarg ana ni shu tsarg ko jokten do na ya shu这去跟脑壳打完了，突击忙个老个你妈的，印度北面出跟着啊，那蒙不没事，蒙不妈妈现在个什么叫光旁听的你了，我觉得等你把东西踏进去，第刚的呢嘛了，你是怎等这个哪的不要我就多，这个燃油都不用的，你莫这样用吧，是萨拉姆这用的嘛里把家伙个什么弄的早就的，三节让了你不搞上去，基本你嘛，想那踏进去。어다 디나한테는 그선 게 아니 유거더니 유거 많이 인데 투지자 꾸니 망가 배민도 동체 빼는 칸이 니마 샤와나 멤버랑 시드르스 빼 살기 도미 나히 인도 라보지 만배 안게 종나 아니 그것은 디스코티나는 망보티자 다그 니에 마소와
Kontaram Shini Maso.
올라서 드니 많이는 다 탑시면도 상발라 아니 다 들행아 추추는데 들어가라는 참조 요긴도
Okay, so Rinpoche was just reciting from his own verse composition of the jewel ornament of liberation from verse 29, which I'm sorry I can't find it at the moment. So we'll stop here for today.
라서 나는 같이 이 대화til인데 드라이메 애니 지마기 추천라니 대화til인데 시작인 시 라서
So we'll leave any questions or points for discussion that you'd like to bring up till next time.
Ande zawe lama rinpoche dagi jiwore beme den shola kadin chembe kone jison de kuson tuki ngudu ze do so So de Ramjan Gamne Gasu Chinla Tan Denye Dendre Lua Mebe to Kebara Chime Seye Latso Ki Chewa Ishe Chinche Dendere Chinle Kake Kama Pe Kasu Donga Chazo Menga Ome Sewe Lamda Nyamdo Ki Yunde Tseka Gidere Shaptes Kange Sansom Doje Rankam Su Lekwara Tenje Longdo Dambej Sheju Tusan Gombe Dude Yi Saden Gembe Chinle Tachin Shu Bande Lame Nambara Tabala Kiji Samya Lota Mikesh Chinze Lekwara Tongwe Mugu Ki Lame Chinla Simla Juba Shu Gewa Kundu Yangda Lama Tang Jeme Chuki Pela Longjuji Satan Lamke Yunde Rabzo Ne Pade Lame Kopan Yuto Shu.
O glorious and precious root Guru, please take seat of lotus at my crown, caring for me in your great kindness. Please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind. Om Swasti. May the blessings of infinite seas of our places of refuge, the force of the two truths' infallible interdependence, and especially the hosts of deities of immortal well-being now rain down the magnificent splendor of their wisdom and power of longevity. The Lord of the dance of all victors' enlightened activities, Karmapa, your unquenchable thirst for the inner essence of his traditions, doctrines, of discourses, tantras, great seal, great perfection, and pith instructions, has brought the qualities of signs on the spiritual path, your experience and realization, to their full flowering. May your life be firm. May the wisdom mysteries of your body, speech, and mind be as perfectly firm as the Vajra's own immutable elements. May your gatherings of disciples who study and practice the sacred teachings of scripture and realization by listening, contemplation, and meditation cover the earth. May your activity reach its ultimate consummation. May I never for an instant develop wrong views of the glorious Guru's life and deeds, but with devotion seeing all they do as excellent, may the Guru's blessings enter my mind. In all lives, may I never be parted from qualified Gurus, enjoy glory of Dharma, and by perfecting all qualities of the paths and stages, quickly attain the state of the glorious Guru.
Dajin Simjin Damjia Loju Sun Dovara Sinjia Labda Sor Ju Lamda Dovara Sinjia Labda Sor Halan Tribas Vara Sinjia Labda Soran Tribai Shisan Chavara Sinjia Labda So Dafo Namji Chudam Timbaye Jidra Sambaye Yin Tribadan Nedoke Sobat Jibin Son Yavara Shivara Sinjia Labda So Let's do Chi Chama. That's the delay.